fair play, integrity, and transparency. Our electoral system is second to none in terms of its transparency, credibility, fairness, and transparency. We are pleading to everybody to observe and respect.
One Gambia, one nation, one people.
Our motto is fair play, integrity, and transparency. Our electoral system is second to none in terms of its transparency, credibility, fairness, and transparency. We are pleading to everybody to observe and respect.
One Gambia, one nation, one people.
December 2021, one of the Gambia's most crucial elections is here. At Fatou, we got you covered. Our team of credible and knowledgeable analysts will bring you exclusive analysis of the event step by step and ballot by ballot coverage. They'll be joined by reputable studio guests to help analyze and break down key ballot issues to meet your needs. As candidates battle for the soul of the Gambia, our team of panelists will get you the information you need to make informed choices. Join our coverage Race for the State House every Thursday at 6 p.m. You decide, we got you covered. Your voice, your ballot with Fatou. December 2021, one of the Gambia's most crucial elections is here. At Fatou, we got you covered. Our team of credible and knowledgeable analysts will bring you exclusive analysis of the event step by step and ballot by ballot coverage. They'll be joined by reputable studio guests to help analyze and
process for the December 2021 elections here on Fatou Live, and of course we are broadcasting from the election house. That is the home of the Independent Electoral Commission. Now this is day 4 of proceedings. Early in the morning, of course, we had independent candidate Mamadi Kamara, and he was followed by the candidate for the Gambia Democratic Congress, Mama Kande, who is in alliance with the APRC No Alliance movement. Now, in a couple of minutes, it will be the turn of the leader of Citizen Alliance, Dr. Ismaila Ceesay, who, along with a huge entourage, have been waiting around the tip of the Battle Hardin Highway, just by the traffic lights, waiting for Kande's entourage to go when he would enter with his entourage. And I must say that Dr. Ceesay actually have been able to mobilize a huge crowd. Long queues, or rather long convoy of vehicles have followed him all over, and in a couple of minutes he will be arriving here at the offices of the IEC to file his nominations, and him and his entourage have actually now arrived at the gate. where he will be received by officials of the IEC, who will then escort him to the tent where the chairman and other senior officers, election observers, among other people, are based. Of course, the other side of that tent belongs to aspiring candidates and their officials, which must not exceed 50 people. And then he will, as usual, go one after the other to present his papers, which will each be attempting to fulfill the 12-point requirements that has been outlined by the IEC. Example, his tax clearance, documents to show that he is a Gambian citizen and that he is above 30 years, and he must bring along 5,000 attestations of valid voters cards, of which 200 must come from each region. And of course, he must also declare his assets. We heard yesterday the leader of the opposition United Democratic Party has even said he is ready to publicly declare his assets, and he challenged his colleagues to do just exactly that. We will see on Friday or Saturday who will take that challenge to declare publicly their assets. Now Mr. Ceesay and entourage have entered into the premises of the office. They are heading to the tent where the IEC chairman, Ali Umar Njai, who, it must be said, had a very busy day over the last couple of days, who is sitting along with his Chief Electoral Officer Samu Janjan, his Deputy Chairman Joseph Colley, and among them his spokesperson Parmakan Khan, all of which are poised to receive the papers, each tick each item to see whether the candidates have fulfilled the 12 points. Now, should they not have any document readily available, they will be given an opportunity to go back and bring that document now against Friday, when there will be, because there will be scrutiny by the IEC and public after that. Now, interesting, Dr. Ceesay is one of the young intellectuals who, after the change of 2016, have decided to join politics. I mean, his argument had always been that it is time that intellectuals join politics, so that not only will that brings vigor and dynamism, energy, and of course vision, but then it will also mean that the generation have taken over from the past generation of politicians and political influential politicians. He attempted to do that by running for the presidency. When he came first, he was hailed as young, dynamic, and highly educated, and therefore an ideal.
Our motto is
fulfill that ambition of becoming president. He formed the Citizen Alliance with his colleagues, prominently Dominic Mendy, who used to be a minister in the Jammeh government, and among others. And you know, is now seated and arrived now. We have to listen and to follow the proceedings, I think, between him and the IEC officials. If you are watching on your screen now, you would see that he has arrived, and he is being received there by the IEC Chief Electoral Officer Sambujan Jan who will be asking him to file in his papers item by item. Yes, like I was saying, he was very courageous by saying that it is time for young people to join politics. And he had a lot of sacrifice because he has to renounce his Swedish citizenship to be able to meet the requirements, one of them being you cannot hold dual citizenship when aspiring to be a candidate for presidency. Only recently he announced that he has renounced his Swedish citizenship. He was very critical of Barrow, President Barrow, in the early days of the regime, which really annoyed so many Barrow supporters. And in fact, on one occasion, Mr. Barrow himself was so angry that he asked that famous question, where was Dr. Ceesay when we were fighting to liberate the country from the clutches of the Jammeh tyranny? That was a famous exchange by the president towards Dr. Ceesay. But it's going to be interesting because in the last few days, Dr. Ceesay and the APP, as well as the GMC, have announced that they have formed an alliance. They were expecting Gambia for All, but then of course Gambia for All had announced they are now endorsing UDP. And they also expected NUP of Ablaye Jammeh, but we haven't had anything from that party, and certainly they have not been present at the signing ceremony. So it will be interesting if Dr. Ceesay will be in position to explain who or what methods are they going to do to choose a flag bearer for. Well, now I think we can listen in to hear the exchange between Dr. Ceesay and the IEC.
Is that the original document? The original one. don't need this? Yeah.
It's not on our official form. Can we have an official form?
We are not provided with one.
It was part of the package.
Was part of the package? Okay, that's fine. No problem.
Code of campaign ethics. It's not part of it. Code of campaign ethics. That every candidate will sign.
What is it? Code of campaign ethics. The code of campaign ethics. Was it also provided? Alright, we will submit that one also. Okay.
It's part of the package. Letter of party sponsorship. Letter from your party sponsoring your candidate is not part of it.
A letter from the party. But this we are not provided. The list they provided, those were not there.
Those things are not on the list.
So it was part of the criteria put in the package.
Yeah, let me see.
And this is why we advise candidates to come for vetting before submission.
Can I have a look at that, please?
It was part of the package anyway.
No, but we went by this advice. There is nowhere indicated that you needed a letter from the party showing that they are sponsoring my candidature.
This is part of the requirement. You can always submit it.
I agree it's a requirement, but we are not aware of the requirement. But we can submit it. We'll submit it.
It's part of the rules and guide.
We'll submit it.
Let's move on. It's part of the guide. Because we want to know the party is sponsoring you.
Okay. Can you take note, please?
One, the campaign program should be in our official form. Two, party sponsorship letter. Three, code on campaign ethics that must be signed by the candidate.
Thank you.
Those are the
No problem.
Well, Honorable, this is a receipt to narrate.
The 2021 elections is about the next generation. It's about the future. It's about the lives and livelihoods of children yet unborn. And that is why we at CA, we are not only concerned with trying to find out the solutions to today's complex problems, but also trying to understand future problems as they emerge by looking at trends. You will agree with me that if current demographic trends continue, and if projections are to be accepted in terms of demography, population, we will reach 5 million people in 25 years' time, within a generation. Now, if today we have a country with 2.5 million people, and we can barely afford to provide clean water for these 2.5 million people, we can barely afford to provide electricity for these 2.5 million people. We don't have enough food for these 2.5 million people. Not enough hospitals or hospital beds or medicine for these 2.5 million people. Not enough jobs for our young people for these 2.5 million people. What will happen to this country if we have 5 million people, where 70% will be young people, needing jobs, wanting to live a dignified life? What will happen to those small kids who will be going to school in 25 years' time? What kind of schools are we going to build for them? What kind of education system are we going to have? What will happen? What kind of environment do we want to leave behind for our kids? What kind of cars will we accept on our roads in 25 years' time? What kind of roads are we going to build? What kind of hospitals are we going to need? How many cars will be running in 25 years' time? How many roads do we need? How many volumes of water, clean water, would we need for these 5 million people? How many megawatts of electricity? When do we start to think about the solutions to provide, start providing that electricity, moving away from fossil fuel to green energy? We need to start thinking now. CA is here not only to think about our problems of today. Today, as we speak right now, you go to RVTH or Serekunda Hospital or Brikama Hospital. There's a guy standing outside waiting for news from the nurses to tell him whether the wife survived the labor or whether he'll have to go around and look for blood. Today, as we speak, there's a boy or a girl who is about to finish college or university. His parents or her parents sold everything they have, their cows, their gold, to pay for this child's education, and he's about to graduate in 6 months. He's thinking, where will he find a job to repay that debt? We are in serious trouble in this country. We have not even begun talking about or finding solutions to today's problems. What will happen to the next generation that will come? What will we leave behind for them? That is why we at CA, we are concerned. And we need serious reforms in this country. We need serious economic reforms in this country. That is the basis. We first have to put the machinery of government, the governance system first. We have to get it right. And then everything else will follow. Thank you.
Doctor, we see you today, right next to you is the APP leader. He did say he would come today after withdrawing yesterday. Now, my party came soon after him. Will you be having a date to pick this flag bearer of the alliance, or is that alliance now dead on arrival?
We have not decided on the fate of this alliance yet. Once we do, the media will be informed. Thank you.
When?
As soon as practicable.
Yeah, so Doctor, this is no new area for you. And as far as corruption is concerned, you have always talked about it. Yesterday, Dabo came here and then challenged the opposition leaders, even the independent, that you should declare yourself. Are you willing to do so publicly? And then next to that, as far as accountability is concerned, are you also willing to disclose the source of funding for CA?
Of course, yes. If you read our manifesto, one of the things we emphasize there is all public officers must declare their assets. Not only that, we want to do what they call lifestyle audits of public officials periodically. That is, if I declare my asset as Ismalia Ceesay and I become president, I submit myself to a very rigorous state institution, which will be created also by CA, kind of a corruption watchdog, to a lifestyle audit on me periodically. So if I have money to do most of these things, therefore, even though Gambia has a huge potential to raise enough money to provide the most basic for our people, yet through leakage in our public funds, through lack of transparency, through strong public institutions, that is why they're unable to do certain things. So the first is reforms, governance reforms, financial reforms to get it right. Secondly, these jobs. See, we have a demographic situation in this country. Over 65% of our people of our population are young people. 41% unemployment rate among young people. Not to talk about the underemployment rate. Therefore, that is a security risk. That is a developmental risk. Therefore, number 2 focus is to ensure that we provide jobs for our young people. Number 3, it has to do with ensuring that we build the right, the regulatory frameworks, common reforms. But to reform the education system, education is key. If you don't have the right education as an individual, it will be very difficult for you to be successful in today's world. Therefore, any country that doesn't get the education system right, it will be difficult for you to compete globally. It will be difficult for you to provide jobs for the young people, because it takes education to provide jobs. And when I say education, I don't really mean university education. I mean skills training for young, basic skills training. Today, the reason why we have high unemployment rate is because we are not looking at what the labor market needs. We are producing a lot of accountants and economists and lawyers from the University of the Gambia and development study students. But the market is not looking for the market for masons, carpenters, mechanics, solar installators. This is what the market is looking for. And we are not providing enough people to fill those jobs. So therefore, we need to reform the entire education sector and make it fit for purpose, so that we pay attention to vocational training, not demeaning the importance of academic training.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you.
Last question.
If we are prepared to let this about what can we do with the victims of human rights violations in this country and on the demand what will happen with that?
First is to ensure victims have justice, and this includes both making sure that perpetrators of heinous crimes in this country, in the past regime, pay for their crimes, but also making sure that we pay reparations to victims, and this could come in many forms, not only by giving monetary reparations, but also by providing free college, university education for their kids, free healthcare, and other incentives. This is where it starts, to make sure victims have justice. When it comes to Yahya Jammeh or the former president, it's not about Yahya Jammeh, it's about anybody who has been found wanting of committing heinous crimes against Gambians, and you've been found guilty by a competent court of law. You have to face justice, whether it is me, myself, or whether it is the current president, or whether it is former Sadada Jawara, or whether it is Yahya Jammeh. Nobody, no Gambian should be immune from justice if there is case against them that they've committed heinous crimes against Gambian people, and that if there is evidence that they've used state machinery to perpetuate terror against Gambians. So nobody should go scot-free. For us to have stability in this country, for us to have reconciliation in this country, impunity must be seen to be not accepted anymore in our society. So therefore, anybody who's found wanting will face justice, and a CA government will ensure that justice is served by punishing crime, violators of human rights, but also by ensuring that victims are given what is due to them. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's the Citizen Alliance presidential aspirant, Dr. Ismalia Ceesay, political lecturer turned fully fledged politician, and a young man for that matter.
Well,
and now he's
Dr. Ismalia Ceesay, the leader of the Citizen Alliance Party, in his deliberations there with the journalist after filing his nomination papers. Now, Dr. Ceesay, like I have said, is one of the first young intellectuals who have decided to join politics, according to him, which he repeats there, to inspire generations who are young to embrace politics so that they can effect the necessary changes that the old guards have not been very successful in delivering. Now, you heard him, of course. He said his objective is to ensure that the future generation are provided with opportunities of quality education and relevant education, for that matter, so that the market will be fed with the requisite skills. And he said that entails reforming the overall educational sector. He also spoke about the need to give greater attention to our healthcare system. He gave very moving examples that if you were to go to Brikama or Kanifing at this moment, you almost certainly will find somebody waiting for news on the condition of his or her relative, spouse, or children for that matter. He said all these issues require right and requisite expertise to deal with, and he thinks he has the answer to that solution. He's been asked also about the position of flag bearer for the coalition he's just formed alongside GMC and APP. As you could see, the leader of the APP, Dr. Baibiran Jan, was right by him. He was here yesterday to announce that he's withdrawn his candidacy or his aspiration to run for president. So it will be interesting. The question is still not answered between CA leader Dr. Ceesay and GMC leader Fatou. Obviously, it's between the two who will be the coalition for that, the flag bearer for that coalition, since the other party, the third one, APP's Dr. Jan, has withdrawn. And of course, the NUP, which they expected to be there, has not been present, deciding, and have not reacted as to whether they will go into the coalition or not. Dr. Ceesay's CAO have also said they contacted the PDOIs, but then of course, as we have probably read, DOI is claiming that some of those claims are actually not entirely true. So it's almost certain that DOI is not certainly part of the coalition between these three parties. Dr. Ceesay right now has been escorted by a multitude, of people in that crowd. I told you, very impressive for somebody like him. I mean, he had taken an approach which is a novelty, by its own, in its own nature. He would move to the remote areas in the country and engage the rural people directly. I remember he went to as far away places like Jolfen in the Kiang East District, and many other areas across the country where he would eat and sit and talk with ordinary people. He said he wanted to hear from them what are their daily challenges, so that he will be properly equipped to deal with them if he gets to State House in December. The CA has also made tremendous achievements since their formation, especially Mr. Ceesay's own background, where he come from as university lecturer. He believed he could talk to and get university students inspired by speaking their language, by taking on the issues that will affect them when they leave university. That is the prospects for jobs. I mean, he said that all those things should be looked into, and he believed that the present crop of politicians, or in fact, the present government has not done much in that area. So, two huge nominations today. Mama Kande of GDC, backed of course by the APRC No Alliance movement, and Dr. Ceesay here, backed by APP, at the nominations, and of course in alliance with GMC, who were nominated, who filed their papers yesterday in Ahmed Fatou. We will have another nomination at 2 o'clock, we will expect. That is the Order Mamadou Ba 2 in the list of the IEC, is expected to come at 2 o'clock. He is an independent aspirant, and so far they have been very interesting. We had the likes of Alhaji Mamadi Kurang, the likes of Ibrahima Tabora Mane, and of course the likes of the Order Mamadou Ba 1 on the IEC's list, who famously said the country needs an injection with vitamin C. We're wondering what this other Mumuduba will come, perhaps maybe another injection with vitamin B, or maybe he will have a whole lot of ideas to bring to the IEC exactly at 2 p.m. Of course, the nomination procedures will continue tomorrow with more independent and other political parties. Among them, of course, is GANU, that is the Gambia Alliance for National Unity, led by Sheikh Tijan Haidara, who until a few days ago actually should have been part of the party that left here, the GDC APRC Nota Coalition Alliance. But then we learned, of course, that they are going on their own way now, and they will be nominated, or they will file their papers for nomination tomorrow. Secretary Jan Haidara. This is Kerr Fatou live, live streaming you from the IEC, that's Election House, and we are on the fourth day of nominations. On Thursday, of course, we expect the other force, the National People's Party of President Barrow and his grand coalition, comprising the PPP, the GPDP, the NRP, and the APRC Fabakary Tombong's faction, which claim they are the legitimate APRC. We expect also another show of force, or another show of might, another display of massive crowd. Of course, they will attempt to outdo, well, they always said they are, in fact, already, and they are the biggest. So they will really attempt to show that when they come on Thursday. That will, among other nominations, or among other people who are going to file on Thursday, will be President Adam Barrow, the incumbent, who has to contend with all these numerous opposition politicians, be they independent or party-sponsored candidates, who will be vying for the 2021 elections coming on December the 4th. It's expected, of course, along the way, up to the 26th November, when the deadline for withdrawals would expire. It is expected, and being analyzed in many quarters, that there may be candidates who will withdraw in favor of other groups, or there will be candidates who will find the hits very difficult to struggle with, or perhaps who will definitely reassess their chances and made realistic decisions as to either pack up or perhaps join one of the bigger blocs, which I can safely say are the United Democratic Party and its entourage, including Gambia for All so far, the GDC and the APRC Nota Coalition, as well as the NPP of President Barrow and its grand coalition. This can be safely said are the three biggest blocs. Dr. Ismalia Ceesay's CA, which we have just seen, has really proven to be, significant, to be significantly strong, actually. Very attractive to the young and the scholars, if you want to, say it like that. So he and his CA, if they eventually becomes the flag bearer of this coalition they're talking about, probably will strive to make inroads into areas that are already, dominantly known to be controlled by those three blocks I've talked about, the UDP, NPP, and the GDC. So if there is a any of the smaller groups that can really give these three blocks a run for their money, that has to be Dr. Ismalia Ceesay and his group. But then, of course, it's pretty premature to say whether he will eventually become, will eventually have his name in the ballot, because he's in alliance with GMC leader Mai Ahmed Fati, who is already an experienced politician, been head of a party for well over 15 years or so, and was a key player in the coalition 2016 that contested in the 2060 election, that historical election. So by virtue of experience, maybe you would say, okay, Mai Fati may be the ideal person to lead that coalition. But then, of course, Dr. Ceesay also, giving his youthful exuberance and charisma, and of course his education, you might think also he can provide a very good leadership, or very attractive leadership for the coalition. And in fact, there have been other suggestions that that coalition itself may end up, being part of another, bloc. Meaning, of course, it could be that once they form their alliance, there may be a possibility of them shifting to back one of the three blocks. Well, let me say one of the two, because I can't see them working with the NPP. But then, of course, the UDP and the GDC-led alliances, one of them probably might get one of these small groups to join them. But I can also really be sure that there are independent candidates who are either too ambitious or probably too stubborn that they would like to have their name in the ballot, whatever. They would like to have their name in the ballot to make history. Such people might be the likes of Marichok, who has a unique characteristic, in this whole race, because she is a woman, the first woman ever to seek nomination for the race for presidents. That in itself is history. So she might, like to continue to push forward that history-making feat, and of course have her name in the ballot box. That is a likelihood, highly likely, that she's going to push, to complete that history-making, to be the first Gambian woman to stand for presidential elections. That's a possibility. So yes, some of the smaller ones might still maintain themselves or their campaign in the race. We will see other independent candidates, such as the likes of Papa Fall, whose Nemo and Cairo and Nemo Iriwa campaign will also come to file their papers for nomination. He has not spoken of any interest in allying with any of the sides, and he will be here, I guess, to get his papers filed in his own right as the candidate for the Nemo Ning Kaira campaign. That's expected in the coming days, or latest Thursday. He also has been making great waves, not necessarily, of course, through holding rallies or public speeches, but he's been knocking every door, according to him, to all the traditional elderly groups around the country to introduce his party. That is the, he called his campaign, of course, his independent ticket, the Nemo Ning Cairo campaign. At this point, of course, we are joined by Buba Gajigo, who has been, I guess, following every step and every movement of Dr. Ismaila Ceesay. What are your impressions? He talked about, well, of course, he didn't disappoint as an academic and an intellectual. He said he's looking far into the future, as to what the country will need to provide for the future generations.
All right, Mr. Cham, thank you very much. That was Lieutenant Dr. Ceesay. He is the party leader of Citizen Alliance. You heard him say about the recent coalition that they signed. It seems like nothing is going well. in that coalition that they signed. So actually, what he's saying that the talks are still ongoing, and then I think they will continue. They have not selected any flag bearer for now. This is what he's saying. But for him, he's the right person to fix this country. And then he's saying that there is so many mess in this country, and he's the right person. Interestingly, I also had an interview with Rafi. If you can remember, yesterday there is a video that emerged on social media. We saw them with some UDP's supporters who they were talking to. Dr. Ceesay was there, Rafi Daib was there, and then they were asking them what they were doing at the Independence Stadium. And those people confessed that they were there for the ambience. Some of them were saying that I was there just to sell, but I not vote for the United Democratic Party. But they were, of course, putting on those United Democratic Party T-shirts and whatsoever. But Rafi, interestingly, he said they just did that for fun, and of course, in the name of political tolerance, he also apologized to the United Democratic Party. He said if they are offended in any way, he is apologizing, but they was just doing that for fun, according to what they're saying. But actually, what I have seen is quite interesting, because they have come up with a crowd. I think most of these political parties, come up with crowds. So now, how are they going to change this crowd to votes? These are some of the things that so many people will be asking. I understand. We wanted also to ask, because I had the IEC chairman asking him a particular document that he did not provide, but we don't know actually which one of them. But the police did not give us enough time to have an interview with him. He promised to bring this document before Saturday. I think this is the case with most of the independent candidates that came on Saturday and Sunday. Some of them did not meet all the requirements of the Independent Electoral Commission. Let's see what will happen. He was here with the party leader of APP, that is All People's Party, I believe. But then the APP also was part of the coalition that was recently signed between them and, of course, GMC. But unfortunately, it seems like GMC came alone yesterday. Yesterday, he said the coalition talk started with 11 political parties but ended with one. What he meant by that, we don't know, because we wanted him to clarify. But fortunately, I'll be interviewing him today by 4:30 on Kerr Fatou, that is Honorable My Fati. Probably he will reveal some of these things there. But then he's saying the political, what he's saying is the coalition talk started with 11 political parties, ends with one. Which one political? Is it the GMC or is it CAO? So he did not clarify. So he was only interested in talking about his party's nomination and what he has for the country. He was only interested of talking about that. But then let's see, for now, CA and APP came together. Of course, GMC also came, and so many people are saying that they might join the United Democratic Party. Of course, those are just speculations. We cannot term them as facts for now. But then we've seen him also, he raised the United Democratic Party flag yesterday. He also raised his own party. He said that was in the name of political tolerance. When he met the United Democratic Party, of course, supporters yesterday on their way to the Independence Stadium, they gave him the United Democratic Party flag. That was the reason why he did that. But so many people are speculating. Remember, when they signed that coalition, there are GMC members who came out and say they were not aware, the party that just went and signed a coalition without informing the party sympathizers, the party supporters. They were not happy. So he released an audio. Of course, it was an WhatsApp audio that I get access to, and I listened to the audio. He was telling them that this is just an agreement that is signed. And of course, if they want, they can join another political party. So it's not late. Actually, whether he will join another party or not, that is not yet clear. But I believe that there is something that is not going well in those coalitions. We cannot say because they have already signed the agreement. They cannot still select who will be their flag bearer. I don't know what is actually happening. Probably one of them will reveal that. Doctor could not say many things about it. What he says, the discussions are still ongoing, and they cannot say so many things about that, Mr. Cham.
Well, thank you very much, Buba. I guess we will have to wait for the final, aspirants scheduled for today. Is that the second Momodu Ba, I guess? Yeah, we will hear what he has to say. The first one, the other day, said the Gambia needs an injection of vaccine, vitamin C.
Vitamin C.
I don't know whether this bar might also talk about another injection, vitamin B or something like that. It's all happening live on Kerr Fatou at Election House. We'll be back later.
One Gambia, one nation, one people.
Our motto is fair play, integrity, and transparency. Our electoral system is second to none in terms of its transparency, credibility, fairness, and transparency. We are pleading to everybody to observe and respect.
One Gambia, one nation, one people.
Break down key ballot issues to meet your needs. As candidates battle for the soul of the Gambia, our team of panelists will get you the information you need to make informed choices. Join our coverage, Race for the State House, every Thursday at 6 p.m. You decide, we got you covered. Your voice, your ballot with Kerr Fatou. December 2021, one of the Gambia's most crucial elections is here. At Kerr Fatou, we got you covered. Our team of credible and knowledgeable analysts will bring you exclusive analysis of the event step by step and ballot by ballot coverage. They will be joined by reputable studio guests to help analyze and break down key ballot issues to meet your needs. As candidates battle for the soul of the Gambia, our team of panelists will get you the information you need to make informed choices. Join our